When her jealous twin steals her husband and stabs her to death, Seo-yeon wakes up back on the one morning that started it all, only to discover her sister has been replaying this day for years. As Seo-yeon fights to save the global hair empire she's building between Busan and Lagos, and falls for a Nigerian prince who could change everything, she'll learn the loop was never her sister's curse to break. It was their mother's. The air in the wedding hall tasted of iron and expensive, cloying lilies. Red emergency lights pulsed like a dying heart over the wreckage of the ceremony. Chairs lay in heaps, their velvet cushions stained. Seo-yeon lay among them, her white wedding dress blooming into a dark, suffocating rose at her ribs. The dagger that had ended her life was still held firmly in her sister's hand. Seo-hee leaned over her, her mascara running in jagged black rivers down her cheeks, yet her expression was terrifyingly serene. "You were always supposed to lose, Annie," Seo-hee whispered, her voice as light as a lullaby. "I just got tired of waiting for the universe to do it for me." Seo-yeon's hand reached out, not to strike, not to plead, but to touch the face of the woman she had spent a lifetime trying to love. Her vision tunneled into a pinpoint of blackness, the world dissolving into silence. Then, a gasp tore through her lungs. Seo-yeon's eyes snapped open. The scent of ozone and blood was gone, replaced by the heavy, hypnotic sweetness of temple incense. She was sitting on a cold wooden floor. The ambient hum of a distant temple bell vibrated against her spine. "Sit still! You'll wrinkle the silk! Today of all days!" Her mother, Mi-sook, was fussing with the collar of her hanbok. Seo-yeon froze, her breath coming in ragged, shallow hitches. She looked down at her hands. They were smooth, pale, and trembling. No blood, no dagger. She was younger, and according to every rule of logic, she was impossible. She had died in a hall of wreckage, yet here she was, trapped in the mourning that had started it all. The temple was a hive of frantic preparation. The Han family's late father had left behind a web of crushing debts to two massive conglomerates, the Kangs and the Chois. This miracle double marriage was the blood sacrifice designed to keep the families afloat. Monk Haewon stood before them, droning a blessing over the twins. When the monk's eyes drifted to Seo-yeon, she faltered. She held Seo-yeon's gaze a half-second too long, a tremor of recognition, or perhaps alarm flickering in her ancient eyes. She said nothing, but the air around the altar turned cold. Behind that coldness lay a lifetime of quiet erosion. The memories washed over Seo-yeon in a fever dream. Age 6, clutching a pair of stylist's scissors, the pride of a future empire in her tiny hands. Age 9, Seo-hee's tears after a recital, ignored by a mother who only wanted a mirror of her favoured daughter. Age 15, the school photos where one was labelled promising and the other was rendered invisible. It wasn't one great tragedy. It was 1,000 small cuts that had carved a canyon of hatred between them. Seo-yeon tried to play her part, but the cracks in her performance were showing. She answered questions about the banquet menu before the hosts could ask, and she flinched at the sound of a voice, Tae-min's, reciting a line that hadn't been spoken yet. Tae-min, the groom, watched her with narrowed eyes, his gaze heavy with a curiosity that bordered on clinical. "Has she always been like that?" he murmured to his cousin. "Like she's grieving something in the middle of a blessing?" Across the courtyard, Seo-hee went rigid. Her prayer beads dug deep into her palm, a line of white appearing across her knuckles. A flash of something, not just malice, but profound, exhausted recognition crossed her face. She whispered to the empty air, "Again? No, it can't be." The sisters moved to the side path, the air between them thick with invisible knives. "Doesn't it ever feel unfair?" Seo-hee asked, her smile tight. "You get the company, the looks everyone says are softer, and now the more interesting fiancé too." "Nobody's getting anything yet," Seo-yeon replied, her heart hammering. "Funny," Seo-hee said, her eyes glinting with a secret cruelty, "how it never feels that way." The ritual demanded they walk the long, treacherous stone staircase from the main hall. As they began the descent, Seo-yeon's body remembered the shove before her brain could even register the danger. She felt the sudden, violent pressure against her back. But this time, she didn't fall like a doll. She twisted in mid-air, a desperate, fluid motion born of traumatic muscle memory. Instead of colliding with the waiting arms of her intended groom, she crashed into a stranger climbing the stairs in the wrong direction. The man was tall, dressed in a sharp, modern suit, and was mid-sentence in a phone call, his voice accented with the melodic cadence of Yoruba. He dropped his phone, his instincts taking over as he caught her in his arms. The silence that followed was absolute. Are you all right?" the man stammered, his eyes wide. "I wasn't even meant to be walking up these stairs." Seo-yeon looked up into a face she had never seen before. Crown Prince Olajide Okafor, in Busan to audit the very industry she was fighting to build. "Neither was I," Seo-yeon whispered, breathless. She looked past him, back up to the top of the stairs. Seo-hee stood there, and her face wasn't masked in the shock of a sister witnessing a tragedy. It was twisted in a mask of pure, unadulterated fury. It was the face of a gambler who had played the same hand 9 times and had just watched the deck vanish. Seo-yeon felt the ground shift beneath her. The shove was a scripted death sentence, a piece of a puzzle her sister had been solving for years. But the script had just been shredded. And for the first time, Seo-yeon realized the loop wasn't hers to suffer. It was a labyrinth she was finally, dangerously, beginning to navigate. Aftermath of the fall. Introductions made properly amid mutual mortification. Olajide Okafor, Okafor Group. Seo-yeon, founder of SY Tresses. A flash of dry humour cuts the tension. Olajide. In my country, catching a stranger falling down temple stairs is generally considered a marriage proposal. Seo-yeon. In mine, it's generally considered a lawsuit. We'll split the difference. Tae-min, arriving a beat too late to be the hero, watches this exchange with an expression he doesn't examine yet. A mid-size, fiercely respected Busan hair house, exporting Korean processed virgin hair, importing raw bundles from India and West Africa. Seo-yeon on 3 overlapping video calls in 3 languages. Jua triaging a customs delay in real time. A factory floor of women who clearly adore their boss. She remembers, in her first life, nearly losing all of this within a month of her wedding. And she has no idea yet whether that's still coming.
The double wedding is formally announced to Busan society, a miracle match, framed publicly as romance, privately understood by both families as a debt settlement. Seo-yeon to Taemin, Se-hee to Min-jae. Same hall, same day. Gossip column footage. Two identical brides, two very different fortunes. Busan watches closely. Armed with memory, Seo-yeon quietly intervenes in a scandal that destroyed Taemin's reputation in her first life, feeding an anonymous tip to his lawyer days before the story would have broken. That night, his crisis evaporates with no explanation he can find. He sits with his phone in his hand, staring at nothing, slowly starting to watch his bride-to-be like she's a magic trick he hasn't solved. Se-hee's first meeting with her formidable future mother-in-law, the real head of the Choi family. One icy, surgical line of disapproval about the Han family's debts establishes instantly the in-law nightmare that, last time, ended in Se-hee thrown out in disgrace. Se-hee smiles through it with practiced ease that reads, on a rewatch, as exhaustion rather than poise. Alone afterward, Se-hee scrolls an old phone gallery, wedding photos from a marriage that, on paper, hasn't happened yet. She isn't shocked by what she sees. She's furious it's happening again, in the same order, with the same people saying the same things. Olajide formally proposes a partnership between Okafor Group and SY Tresses that would make Seo-yeon's company genuinely global. Fair trade sourcing, both continents, his name on it. He'll be back in Busan for the trade summit the same week as her wedding. Seo-yeon, hanging up, allows herself one unguarded smile before catching it in the mirror and schooling her face back into engaged woman. Taemin, unable to let it go, brings up the stairs incident over a stiff family dinner, more curious than jealous. You looked at him like you'd seen a ghost, not like you'd just met someone. I fell down a flight of stairs, Taemin. I looked at everyone like that. He doesn't push, but he doesn't believe her either. So-hee finds the Okafor Han stairs incident already mildly viral in business press. Nigerian hair dynasty heir and Busan designer's curious meeting, alongside a photo of Olajide that lingers a beat too long on screen. Her expression curdles into something new. Not jealousy over a man yet, but hunger for an angle. So-hee, alone, says the line that recontextualizes everything coming. Last time, I only wanted her husband. This time, I want to know what it feels like to take everything she has, all at once, and watch her realize there's nothing left to fall back on. She didn't just remember the past. She'd been rewriting it over and over again, one loop at a time. And this time, she wasn't coming for one thing. She was coming for everything. The question was, did her sister remember enough to stop her? If this story has its hooks in you, hit that like button, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below, because you do not want to miss what happens next.